Today, we are talking about Google's helpful content update, which nuked so many websites, destroyed huge swaths of the internet. And we're going to talk about what it is, who got hit, why they got hit, who avoided it, what we can take away, and a lot more. Joining us, it's a fun cast that we got today, Mr. David Quaid, Mr. Lars Lofgren, and the one and only Gagan Gotra. And I want to start with just the very basic. What is the HCU? What is the helpful content update? And Lars, well, you've said a lot about the helpful content update, so I would love for you to start this
okay.
one. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the helpful content update, I had a lot of personal experience with this fucking thing. It started rolling out the end of 2022, hit hard at the end, September 2023 is when everybody started to notice it. But there was earthquakes, initial shakings at the end of 2022. That's when my affiliate business started to see it. We didn't realize it was HCU at the time. We just was like, man, something's off. What's going on? And then September 2023, that's when like everybody got absolutely smacked, including tons of legitimate sites. And then the double tap, as I call it, came in the April 2024, early 2024. That's just like put all these sites like in the fucking ground. So that was like the initial timeline. It started as a separate component to the Google algorithm. It was entirely separate for a while. Those first 2 years, it's a separate thing, dedicated rollouts. And then it got merged into the core algorithm since then. And now, just on a LinkedIn the other day, I think I called it like Freddy Krueger. Like it's just lurking in the shadows all the time, and it's always there. It's ever present. And if you start to like get a little too greedy, cross some boundaries, don't mind your P's and Q's, it's just gonna come out of the fucking shadows, and you're fucked. That's it. The site goes down. So I've wrestled with the HCU on multiple sites now. The classic example is you have a site with way too much content, tons of like actual SEO content, whether or not it was intentional or not, or whether or not the content's good, you just have a ton of SEO content. And if you hit any other tripwires along the way, you can just lose like 90% of your traffic literally overnight. That happened to me. Seen it. There's so many case studies out there where the site just gets obliterated, and there's like no way to really come back. The best hack I've seen is a double redirect. I have not done it myself because I'm like, fuck that. I've heard a lot of people talking about it to the point where I believe it. And if I wanted to like salvage something quickly and it was like a side project that I didn't like really care that much about, I would do the double redirect, basically move the whole domain to 2 other domains, get it on a new brand, probably purge a ton of the content and start building up the entity from scratch, and hopefully build it in a different way than the way that got you nuked the first time. So that's a quick summary.
A great summary. Dave, so Lars, you were hit by it.
Yeah.
And you lost. I've looked
twice,
at
actually, twice. And then I had a client that like got pseudo hit. So I've gone through this like a bunch of times. Yeah.
And Gagan and David, can you share your experiences with the helpful content update? Even if it's just like analyzing sites, or you worked with sites that got hit, whatever it is.
Just before the update happened, as Lars said, there were earthquakes. And so I was doing some work on the Google product support forum where people come in for SEO questions. And within a couple of weeks, the vast majority of, let's call them tickets raised, were people with these very, very low quality cookie cutter sites with tons and tons of AdSense, interstitials. Like it was just AdSense everywhere, coming in with the same story. Like, I built this website, it's all handcrafted content, it's organic, it's like fertilizer free nonsense. It was rubbish content. And these are coming in like 10 a day. You could see that there were obviously a couple of designers that were just knocking these out like in a factory. And most of them just didn't have authority. They were just getting knocked. They were launching in Google and getting knocked out the following day. I switched from using or being on that forum to helping people to Reddit. And about 6 months later, being relatively active on Reddit, people started coming in like 10 a day saying that their sites had been completely nuked or they've lost 75% of traffic. I ended up buying one of those domains. It was a domain out of Canada. It had like 100,000 clicks a day. It got progressively hit. Like the first hit was 90%. I think I bought it off the guy for like $200. And then the second hit was in April, and it was knocked out. I analyzed about 25 websites in the first week. Spoke to the owners. There were some really good sites. They had some common similarities, and it then went on for months.
This method of marketing is so effective, I had to make sure it wasn't against Google's rules before I kept doing it. It's a form of SEO I call compact keywords. Whereas most SEO focuses on putting up articles to answer questions how, what, when, compact keywords focuses on putting up dozens of pages that sell to searchers who are actually looking to buy. These pages rank on Google and convert so much better than normal that when I discovered this years ago, I couldn't believe this was allowed. It's less work too. The average compact keywords page is only 415 words. Compact Keywords is a 13-hour deep course on getting sales with SEO. A customer recently said, "Each lesson is dense with information. You're giving years worth of experience boiled down into 15 to 30-minute lessons with no filler or fluff. I feel like I'm gaining a new superpower." Compact Keywords is about setting up an SEO funnel that brings you sales for years and years and years. It works with AI, it's less work than traditional SEO, and it makes way more money. You can get it now at compactkeywords.com. Back to the podcast.
Yeah, for me, I think the first one was all right. No client was hit in when Google rolled out first one, but by like February 2023, I started to hear some things from my friends in UK who were sending me some examples, and I was looking at them, and I was like, there is no update going on right now. But helpful content of update, of course, is like working in the background, but there is no like official announced. But in February 2023, some sites were hit really, really hard. And when those friends of mine were sending me the examples, I was like, oh, okay, maybe you guys are doing something shady, or there is something more going on in like UK search results that is not happening in like Australia or US. But when September 2023 hit, that's when I realized that, oh my God, almost like eight sites of my clients, they just went down like in just 2 weeks. And it was just like total bloodbath, like over 90% traffic lost. No new content was ranking as well, so you were almost got like a manual action kind of thing was happening in search results. So this is what is my experience, but it is what it is now. Many of those businesses have like shifted to some other things now, but those domains are still totally dead. Like you can't recover them. I have seen some examples like which have recovered. Like recently I talked to someone like who runs a law firm in Miami. Technically they were doing some lot of like weird stuff. They got hit really, really hard by the update in 2023, but they have recovered back now. But for that example, I think it was more about the other weird stuff that they were doing beyond just the content. So, but just for the content, I have not seen like any site which has like fully recovered yet.
So I want to start with this question, like, why would Google implement a core update like this, or updates? Like, why would Google do this? What caused the helpful content update, and why?
I have a couple of theories. One is so if you look at like Google has a list of specific penalties, and what's interesting about the HC is it doesn't meet any one of those specific penalties except maybe the thin affiliate content penalty. What it seems to trigger is the Google like overarching thing, anything that's used to manipulate search could technically violate their terms of service. I think Lily Ray alluded to this yesterday on her podcast with you. And so it's a two-edged business model, right? They're targeting Google for traffic only. A lot of these sites weren't building traffic from other sources. So it was like a pure convert traffic, which had a couple of interesting outcomes. The second thing is that a lot of the revenue is either made by AdSense or affiliate, right? So it's like in some cases, it's a double Google issue. The second thing that occurred to me, which I don't know if this is just a coincidence, but if you look at a lot of the sites, and I've run paid search campaigns for a long time, a lot of these sites match the sites that as a paid search manager, if you were ever reviewing where display ads go, these are the type of sites that you would block immediately. You would say, look, this is not where I want my brand to be, or this is not the type of site I expect my ICP to be hanging out. And so I don't know if it was an issue where Google's like, this is like proving to be a problem for us in our ad display network, and we can't cut, automatically carve it out, or if they're just saying, look, this is clearly SEO for SEO's sake, right? There's no other reason behind this entity. So that's my personal take on it.
Lars, how about you?
I think things are a little messier than that. I think that's a component. I think that's what they're trying to do. I mean, if I was trying to like summarize the HCU or like Google's intent, and obviously I'm making an assumption. I don't fucking know anybody over there. I don't know what they were trying to do. Obviously there's a lot of SEO spam. There's a lot of sites that fit that exact description. There's so many of them. A lot of them were doing very, very well. And Google was trying to stamp that out. Unfortunately, they didn't get probably into as much of the weeds as they should have, and they threw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, for all the examples of a spammy affiliate AdSense driven site that should have never gotten traction in the first place, there's also plenty of examples of some hobby site, some one person expert that was building a blog, great fucking content, was doing SEO basics, not to like exploit Google, just to like help figure out like how do I give my audience what they want, doing the basics that everybody said you should do. A lot of this shit Google said you should do for years and years and years. And a lot of those blogs got absolutely obliterated, right? Even in the affiliate space, for every scammy affiliate, there was also a genuine affiliate that was an actual expert in their stuff, doing the hard work, reviewing the products. And I know, in my personal opinion, from everything I saw, Google did not do the work that they should have to actually figure out who's good, who's not. Instead, they were like, okay, who's just doing any of this and maybe pushing SEO to, like, who's just focusing too much on SEO? Regardless of like, maybe you should focus on SEO if you want to deliver a lot of good content. Like, there was no nuance, no context, right? So they just threw everything out. I don't think it was intentional. My personal just conspiracy driven opinion is that a lot of the senior leadership is not as in touch with the SEO ecosystem as probably previous generations of Google leadership, and things got simplified, things got shipped. And for everything that Google fixed with the HCU, they all, like, some other good site got fucked. Like, I don't think you could ask anybody right now, like, have the SERPs improved? Like, no. Like, we just traded like one pile of shit for another pile of shit. We're just like, shuffling it around. I wouldn't say there's been a consistent drive or even just like an improvement on quality, right? In my take, but maybe some people have different opinions.
Yeah.
I think one of the interesting things about it is that they called it the helpful content update. And Lars, I think you're one of the few people who shares this with me, that I think Google cannot
they don't have
determine
any
quality
idea.
content.
No.
They have no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't think they want to. I don't think they want to.
It's not a priority.
It's so no. The simple reason is that I often use this example, like if you take someone who's learning about SEO and they read a first blog post about SEO and they're like, wow, this is so amazing, I'm now going to get into SEO. And then 2 years later, they come back and read that same blog post. They'll be like, this is so fucking basic. I can't believe it's even allowed to be on Google, right? So quality is so subjective that even the same person can simultaneously, like, it's like Schrodinger's cat of content. And so that's why I think they threw the good out with the bad, because that definitely happened. Sorry, Gagan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I have like a theory where Google was trying to like tackle two problems. One was like the sameness problem. Like in some credit card points related search, you see that all the top 10 guys, they are just recommending same things. Like the exact copy on those pages are just like same. So Google was just trying to send a signal to the web that we don't want you copy pasting whatever exists already, because a lot of people were just saying like these are the top 5 results. So I will just like do some paraphrasing and just publish one another article. And the second thing is, I think what they did is like some sites, their editorial went like too much positive. So some, like in gardening space, some sites were just writing like positive reviews of the products. No one was saying anything negative about any specific product. And I think that's where also Google was a bit cautious, because you can't be a site who has written like product reviews of 500 different things and all you are saying is positive things. Why? Because you want affiliate money from those brands and you don't want to write exact thing. Maybe there is something wrong with that brand, but if you publish that, you will get sued. To avoid that, you just write positive reviews and try to land like those brand relationships. And over time, you say that you are a reviews website, but technically you are just saying positive things about the brands. There is nothing negative about you, about products that you are saying from the actual testing. And that's why I think Reddit got pushed too. One of my client was hit in a gardening space, and I even told him that you have to balance your editorial, where on per page you're not only just saying all the positive things, 9 positive things and 1 negative thing. Maybe just bring it down to like 5 positive things about this product that we tested, and here are 5 negative things. And those kind of the queries, now Reddit is showing up where people are just like straight away saying that don't buy this shit, this does not work. So I think that those two things played out at the same time, and that's why helpful content update got introduced, and then Google pushed like Reddit too much too, where Google is now trying to like make sure that there is a balance of opinion in search results, where it's not only the pages who are saying like positive things about the products. There is some like negative stuff on Reddit too, where people are just straight away saying that don't buy this product, or don't just engage with this brand.
I see so many problems with that. There's so many challenges, right? One is it would require Google to do some sort of like balance testing, right, with content, which I don't think it can do, will do, or should do. It's a relevancy engine, and I think that's borne out by where the people. If you look at, like, for example, the Points Guy, if you look at Credit Karma, they only say good things about a lot of the products too. A lot of sites only say good things about their own products. A lot of Amazon listings only say good things about the product. So that just I think that's visibly testable. That's not really the case. That might be an observation you saw, but I think that's too light a definition, right? That you just have to say some negative, right? Because that opens up to like it's not a good quality test just to say you have to have a good and a negative part, right? And I don't think that's valid. I can show too many examples of where that's not true today, right?
Yeah, my theory that comes from because Google, after the helpful content update, pushed Reddit too hard, and Reddit pages are always like saying some negative stuff about the things, like whatever they're discussing in the post. So I feel like that overall top 10 results was showing like too much positive stuff, especially for the reviews related sites, and Google was like, there is no world in which like all the products are best products in their category. There must be something negative about those products, which our Google search users should know when they are trying to look for the reviews of those products. And that's why I feel like out of the 10, Google kicked out like 5, and instead like bring in Reddit and other forms which are like actually have some balanced content on the page, rather than just like outright saying that buy this product, here is my affiliate link.
I wouldn't get listens from Reddit. Reddit's being juked to the top. I know people that are exploiting the fuck out of Reddit, and it makes like, I don't know why I spend any time on SEO. It's so fucking, Reddit's so much easier. You get this right subreddit, you get one post, you get 5 upvotes, you go to the top of Google. It's fucking stupid for high value and crazy terms. The amount of exploitation in Reddit right now is off the fucking charts. Like, none of it's fucking real, especially when it comes to products. I would not say like, oh, like Google likes that, that's what we should model. Like, no. Yeah. It's just it like Reddit's the fucking loophole, and it's been engineered to be a loophole. We can disagree about whether or not that's a good idea, but Google's pushing Reddit to the top intentionally. And it's the easiest thing to fucking game right now.
Absolutely. It's so bad that I think we have an upcoming conversation about that, right, Ed? I agree. I think there's so many subs that are just open for spam. And like you said, if you get the keywords right, if you get the title right, you go straight to the top with some of the most difficult search phrases. The other thing about the content and content quality, and why I said it was so funny, it was called helpful content, is that if you take the content and move it to another domain, it ranks fine. So it's not the content, right? It can't be the content. Like, that content will rank fine on Reddit. That content will rank fine on my blog. It's whether or not it's scaled up. Right?
Yeah. That's the key. Yeah. So it's not about the individual post, it's aggregate, right? Exactly. So you got to look at the content across the domain. And usually when I'm trying to get an HCU or like a beginning of an HCU hit turned around, I'll go try to purge 90% of the content. That's like step 1. Let's go delete everything we don't need, and we need to do it right the fuck now to stop bleeding. That's the only thing I've seen to actually like get stuff unstuck.
What do you think,
lo-
Lars, about the EAT component?
Fucking bullshit. I don't know why anybody pays attention to this. Like, if you've been reading my LinkedIn, I think I wrote that. I don't know. Fucking can't stand EAT.
Sorry, gang.
what's the reason for that, Lars? Like do you feel like how EAT is presented by other people, like that is wrong, or you think that Google is not even trying to measure
Google's not looking
those
at
kind
it.
of the
Like,
signals?
like everybody, I think the aspirations are good, right? Like,
Yep.
I think as an internal tool for Google, I can see why they developed it and be like, yeah, we should probably go in this direction. I fucking hate the acronym, especially the second E that they added. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. But like the initial impetus makes sense on where to go. But in all their education, it gets everybody, the entire fucking like SEO online marketing community running off in a direction that doesn't fucking matter. When like Google's basically painting this picture of, oh, we care about who the author is and we care about their background and if they have real expertise and if they did the work. No, they fucking don't. Like if you look at any actual SERP, the content that ranks is bland as shit. Right? Like there's no real evidence of quality. Just like they was saying, like they can't actually look at quality. They cannot discern who is an expert and not. Like if you come in and you have a major brand in your category, you get a rank for whatever the fuck you want, even if it's AI slop, right? You can just throw in like AI authors that are fucking fake as shit, and there's fingerprints of them being fake all over the place. Doesn't matter. And all these content ranks so well. If you go in and you're like, oh, I'm an expert in this category. I spent 15 years actually learning how this works. And I'm going to spend a bunch of time building a website, writing all this content. I'm going to really focus on the expertise and the authority it is and prove that I'm trustworthy. I'm going to show up with my own personal brand and do all that stuff that Google wants you to do. Are you going to rank? Fuck no. Like that's not the lever to move forward. So my issues with it is it gets people focused on something that Google's not actually looking at. And it's not like, oh, Google is like kind of looks at it, but you know, they're going to improve it over time. Let's cut them some slack. No. It could not be on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Like they didn't even get halfway there or a part of the way there. They're looking at something else when it comes to ranking domains. And they've tried to do, I don't think it was intentional. It's like giant org, you know, these things get away from you. You have these ideals and then how things ship is like always very different in big companies. But they came in and were like, oh, we want X, and they just gave us all Y, right? Like any practitioner in SEO is now focused on other shit, not like, oh, let's go fucking use EAT. Like, no, it's not even on my radar. Do not think about it at all.
Yeah. But I think
I'm done. I can check out now.
I think it got abused to the point where people were like just slapping random author names and author boxes on the pages, and they were like, "Look at us, like 10 years of this, 10 years of that." You know?
Everyone tries to do that, and I think there's a little bit there, right? Like I think the entity relationships can matter, right? Like if you have a good personal brand with like a strong social following, and you get the author profile connected and Google, I think that can help. It's not going to like make or break a site, but I think it can help. So like I still do the author profiles. I try to get everything linked appropriately so Google understands who's writing what. I do think that's important. I don't think it makes or breaks anything. But everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people in SEO were like, oh, I got to obsess over this shit and it's going to totally catapult the domain. I'm like, in the same time, Wells Fargo can just slip like whatever the fuck they want. And it goes to the top of every finance term on the internet. And you're like, what is happening right now?
And commit actual fraud at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And yeah, have we forgotten all the issues that Wells, like, holy fuck, big companies can do stupid shit too, right? The brand is not like it's not like this magical halo that protects you and means you actually know what you're talking about. You can do horrible shit. Enron, holy shit. Anyway, so yeah, I'll get off my soapbox.
I feel like just beyond Google, like if we are not like thinking of ranking in search results, still like it's good to have like the team page where you're showing your team, your author pages, who's brand, because it helps with the conversion. Like I work with like a couple of real estate companies, and people like who are looking to spend like $1 million, $2 million on buying a house. They want to see like who their agent is, what their like team is going to be, what experience they have, what are the listings they are managing already. You know, like it's not like Google specific thing, but it's more like conversion specific thing, where if some random person is landing on your website and they want to do business with you, they at least want to know something about your team, your brand, or whatever you have been doing, you know.
Yeah.
Yes
Yeah,
and
go
no.
ahead, David.
I think, sorry. So I've spent 22 years owning my own agency, 26 years doing SEO, and I spent 6 years stupidly as an internal head of marketing. And one of the funny things I did is I looked at a site that we grew from like maybe 6,000 visits a month to 250,000. We grew from 19 employees to 600 in 5-6 years, and got acquired for 250 million. And our executive team spent an inordinate amount of time on this on the About Us page. And I grabbed analytics for 12 months and I showed them that in the 12 months, less than 14 people had gone to the About Us page. Like that's how critically unimportant it was, right? And so I think it depends, right? Like I think EAT at a high level is like, is this a real business? And that's why they had to
Yeah,
get
it's
real
the
people
entity.
to do that part.
It's the entity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where it becomes bullshit is like, oh, that fed back into LLM training, and that's where it becomes no. Sorry, you're fabricating now. So I think that HCU is much more basic, right? It's like there's probably 5 things that join all of the sites together. I've spoken to a lot of people, and I spoke to Joanne Hawkins and I spoke to Anne Smarty, who had some also really good inputs about it, and they were saying, look, not all of the sites were AdSense or affiliate, and I was like, I don't know. Second parties can't analyze anecdotal evidence. It's always a challenge, right? I'm not knocking it. Every single site I saw had, as Sean Anderson says, some sort of monetization, either AdSense, Moneyvine, or affiliate, right? So maybe other sites also got hit. And then I think the targeting methodology, and then heuristically, does it look like a real entity, right? Like, does it have branded search? Does it have return visits? Could be another heuristic. We don't know what heuristics Google uses, right? That is the real black box, right? Like even the API warehouse leak doesn't give us any insights really into that, I don't think, right?
So what do you think they should have done? There was there a problem in the first place? And what should Google have done instead of what they did with the HCU? If you think the HCU was a bad move.
I think that like they did with Panda and Penguin, they had like reconsideration requests, right? Like there were a lot of legitimate sites. Like I think the like House Fresh, for example, retro games, they seemed like some legitimate sites. I spoke to a guy who's a really nice guy who'd built his website over 10 years, got to 1 million visits a month, was making about 10,000 a month. Some of the content that I saw on it was like terrible, but a lot of content was like him writing about like his childhood games. And I think there should have been some better feedback from Google. Like the show at Pony Show that they did where they flew everyone to like one of their headquarters and gave them all coffee, that I think was really rude, right? Um, that seemed to be like the worst thing they could have done from a PR point of view. But yeah, I think there should have been some sort of like process for people to say, look, we are trying to build a real entity here. Like it's not like some sort of like AdSense scam, right? From an AdSense point of view, I think that a component of what they were taking out was essentially a content scam, right? A small component of it, right? Just mainly the component I saw. But that's not, and I think that's one of the challenges with SEO. It's really hard to see the totality of what's going on. It's very, very difficult. Like for any of us to analyze this, we would need a tool the size of like a SEMrush or an Ahrefs, right? We don't have tools to do that kind of segmentation analysis with, right? It's also interesting that they didn't do any analysis, right? I don't think any of the big SERP tool providers did any analysis of hit sites, did they?
I think Moz did some analysis, but they
Okay.
they said that if you have like their DA weird shit metric below certain point, then you got hit. If DA was higher than this, then you did not got hit. And I even challenged the guy. I think it was written by their chief SEO
You'd say that's
scientist or
false.
some role like that.
Yeah. I know a domain
Yeah.
with an extremely high domain rating that got absolutely obliterated by HCU.
Yeah.
So
I saw a lot of commonality in backlinks in some of the sites. Like they had a huge number of Wikipedia entries. I like saw one that had 111 links from Wikipedia, which
I
I
too
thought
had
was
0.
interesting.
I didn't
Right,
do
right.
any Wikipedia shit.
Yeah, sure. So the problem with the DA metric is like, is that before or after Google devalues some of the backlinks they had, right? So again, without us being able to look at, or without us having the ability to look at all of the backlinks that were there, right? Or, could it have been like a nearest seed analysis? Like, did they all share something in common, right? Without them knowing about it, right? That would be interesting. Just from a numbers point of view, I would love to see that, but that could be a red herring.
Yeah. And even like one of my theories that Google just looked at all the queries which are like more affiliate heavy, and they just went like random fires to those sites, and even the legit guys got hit with that. So because affiliate space was like the most one. I don't know if you guys know the niche site lady account on X. Back in like 2020 2021, she was posting like just copy paste this on your site, publish 100 pages, and you will rank. And that was ranking. And I'm not sure like how many people like exactly copy pasted that playbook. This is the structure, add the table of content, this is the headings. And I feel like that also added to like where Google went like, oh, we need to do something about this. Like a lot of people are just trying to copy paste the websites, the whole websites, change few words here and there, and they are actually ranking. Our algorithm is not like good enough to catch that,
Yeah, she got 3 manual actions in 1 week, if I remember.
Yeah.
Do you guys think affiliate websites or niche publishers are still viable long term?
Depends. Absolutely depends. So my business was an affiliate business. So we did $20 million worth of affiliate revenue over a 5-year period. So I think we did decently well. We got up to about 25 employees before all this started to happen. So this is an industry I know fairly well. Would I start an affiliate website, an SEO organic affiliate website today? Fuck no. I would not lead with that. Let me put it that way. Okay. And I'm not. Like, go look at any of my stuff. Go look at my blog, right? There's not a whole lot on. I don't spend a ton of time on my blog. I do like a blog post a quarter, right? Like, it's not a primary focus. Like, if I was thinking about, even if I wanted to explore like performance-based, affiliate, some sort of, that's the monetization model, I would not build an affiliate. I wouldn't start with an affiliate like SEO website. I would go do other stuff first, right? Go build your entity, go build your media property, get on TikTok, get on LinkedIn, go YouTube, build any combination of that. Go spend time on other platforms, build your audience there, build up the entity. So I think if someone's just like, oh, I just want to write, I just want to build a blog, I'm going to monetize through affiliates, like not to say that it's impossible. I still know of like dedicated affiliate sites that are ranking really well. And I presumably are still making a good amount of money for whoever's running them. But they're the exception. They're rare. They're hard to, like the journey has never been harder. And it's not just like the HCU you got to worry about. Like, you just look at the SERPs on any transactional stuff. Like, not only do you have the AIO eating everything up, not only do you have everybody moving to LLMs for all their like research anyway, and just plugging in some deep research fucking thing. And like, oh yeah, I have Perplexity go run off and, do all the work. But on top of that, if you're in any of the product SERPs or, transactional SERPs, Google, there has been a pretty long standing direction of Google not wanting to rank blog review content. It is still there a little bit, but what does Google want to rank these days? Like, if you go search best whatever, Google starts giving you products. Google's trying to be the middle person, right? They want to send you to the actual products. I think they do a shitty job of it. Usually the products are like not great unless it's like really obvious. Like, oh yes, thank you. I know Apple makes phones. Thanks. But like, yeah, like it's not what it used to be. Like, the margin of error has just gotten so squeezed. Now, if you have a media property, if you are a NerdWallet, an Investopedia, Forbes, a CNET, CNN Underscored, any of these big sites that have like a lot of the, massive entity, massive brand, huge domain, does it make sense for them to continue to manage and develop an affiliate program? I actually think so. There is still money to be made. The money is shifting in a big way. And I'm actually hearing, as soon as I saw the AAOs come out, I was like, this is going to happen. And now I'm hearing from multiple people that it is actually happening. Like the affiliate industry is moving from that like click based performance model where you get the traffic, you get the click, you get paid on sign up, click, conversion, customer, whatever. It is moving that to more of this like flat fee model. And I did a bunch of flat fee stuff at my affiliate company. So we were already doing this. We were solving other problems, but this was already happening. And now I think it's just going to like become the dominant monetization model so that, it's because, even if you, let's say you have a big affiliate program, you have all these review posts. Let's say all the traffic goes away because everybody's in, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever the fuck. Well, what are those tools still referencing? They reference Reddit and they reference the top listicles, right? So even if there's no traffic on a big time listicle at NerdWallet, and I don't know if NerdWallet plays these games or I don't know anything about their program. But I know other people definitely do shit like this. But if, I was going to one of these big websites and I was like, I got a new startup. I really need to get on this list so that, ChatGPT starts referencing me and starts, mentioning my brand when people are asking questions about this subject. I could go to that website and I could say, hey, I will pay you $20,000 a month. How high can you put me on the list? And say, they'll hem and haw like they always do. There's a whole game around this shit. And they're like, well, we can get you to number 3, but for now, we'll just see how it goes. And I'm like, okay, give me the number 3. Boom, you get added. And now you're in all the fucking LLMs because the LLMs still rely on search a heavy percentage of the time. Though that and Reddit, right? So you game the fuck out of Reddit. You pay your way into all the listicles. And now any publisher that has ranking content and has the entity to support that ranking content can still monetize the fuck out of all of it if they have it. But the moat has gotten, ironically, like Google trying to like fuck up the affiliate industry, just like entrench the major players even more. Because now it's like upstarts can't attack it. They can't actually go do genuine reviews and start to like separate things because they're not fucking CNN or whoever the fuck. And again, I'm not talking shit about CNN. I don't know how easy it is to game these, to get on their site or any others, but I know a lot of publishers. It is absolutely pay to play, a huge chunk of it. Some, not all, some are not, but a lot are. So if you're running an affiliate program, if you've got budget to spend as a company, you are trying to figure out who is willing to play ball and what their price is. And then you get on the list and there's still plenty of money to flow through for everybody. So I don't think the model is dead. It's changed. It's shifting. But as a new player, I wouldn't start with SEO. Go build other stuff first, then come back to SEO. Right.
And also, like, if your affiliate play is working right now, don't do any marketing, especially in SEO space. Like maybe you have seen like Hrefs, they do like these story videos where they invite like different site owners and they talk about like their SEO, what they have been doing. Like someone I know, like Hrefs, like was asked, telling them that we can pay you this much, come and do a story video with us. And I was like, your affiliate game is still working after HCU. Do you want to go on radar? Do a video with Hrefs? Like, yeah, they are paying you money to do a video with them and discuss your SEO story, but you will 100% get nuked in 6 months. Like, don't come under the radar. If your affiliate game is working, just stay hidden. Like, that is the best thing that you can do right now. If you come under radar on X, like, I don't know how Google do it, but again and again, I have heard stories where someone like they started discussing their SEO strategy on YouTube, X, and LinkedIn, and 6 months after that, their traffic got like to 90% down. Like how did that happen? Like, this is a conspiracy theory. Like, of course, like Google is watching, but how is that is happening? Like, I still wonder, like what goes on? Like, if someone starts to discuss their strategies, exactly like site, show the domain, 6 months, and their site loses like 90% traffic for no reason. So it's just better to stay under the radar. Like, if your affiliate game is working, don't go on Href's channel and discuss your story, even if they are paying you tens of thousands of dollars to do this. Just stay under the radar.
I wonder if Google let it go too long, right? Like, and again, I'm talking about it from like the sites they were trying to hit, not the good guys that they hit. But if you remember Penguin and Panda, again, they left it go on too long, right? Like it was almost everyone thought that they had to buy millions of links. I remember working with this small company in Belfast in Northern Ireland who had like 11.8 million backlinks. And when I first met them, they're like, yeah, we might have bought a couple of backlinks. And then it's like this avalanche of links that they bought. You know, it's just like Google like trying to sort it algorithmically and then realize that the essentially they're playing the algorithm so well that they actually had to go in and interfere. And again, it was too little too late, and they took out a wider spread because it initially started pretty small and initially seemed pretty accurate, and then I think they opened up the aperture. So I think there was part of that as well. Also, the timing before AIO and ChatGPT is also super interesting, right? Did they want to remove all of those sites before they started getting quoted by Gemini, right, or by AIO? Like if you think about it, the HCU happened what 12 months before ChatGPT opened up.
David,
Something like that.
but do you think affiliate sites or like niche publishers are still viable long term?
Oh, I don't.
Wow.
I think so. I think it's the same problem as the aggregator, right? Like if you were building a hotel aggregator and then Google has always wanted to be that middleman that Lars was talking about. They've always wanted to be the aggregator. They've always hated, except they've let them exist, right? Like Clutch, for example. Clutch still exists, and that Google feels that's their job. They should rank everyone, whereas they see like a site like hotels.com as taking the organic position and then selling the other positions, right? And so they've always played a weird game of cat and mouse with job listings, hotel listings, flight listings. And so, yeah, I don't think it's a viable game because the model is so reliant on SEO that you become so detectable.
Oh.
Unless, and you know, as Lars said, if you're a big brand, and a former guest on the show who's with the three of us was Harpreet, and Harpreet is talking about a big bank, a big fintech at the moment, who seems to have a ton of machine scaled content that is machine scaled, right? That they're ranking for, and they don't seem to be facing any penalty whatsoever. They're
Do
not
that
being
all the
de-indexed
time,
at all.
especially in B2B.
Yeah. Mhm.
There's just so much trash. It's blatantly AI content. It's fucking everywhere, and it all ranks. It's fucking insane.
Why did some media properties not get hit while so many others did?
Like Forbes, like even though Forbes were the poster child, right?
Well, Forbes is struggling. I don't know. Go look at their Ahrefs.
Right.
It's not as easy as it used to be. So this is my mental model that I'm working with currently. You all can tell me whether or not it's off base, but the way I look at it, and there's nuance and there's some exceptions. I think newspapers are the primary exception. But I kind of look at it like a scale, right? And I'm like, how, and it's a lot more goes in this than just like brand search or like how big is the brand? I mean, that's the colloquial shorthand for it, but like how much presence and how built up is the entity of the company or of the website, not just the domain, but the actual entity behind the website. How built up is it across the entire web? Right? Are they present on YouTube? They have a huge following. Are they over there? Do they have a lot of brand searches? Not just brand searches. I know sites that actually had decent brand searches that still got hit, right? It's a way more than that. But like, are people talking about it on Reddit and on LinkedIn and all the socials and everywhere else? If you have like a really built up entity, you have a certain amount of like gas in the tank, right? And you can go to a certain limit on the SEO side. The trouble is when the SEO extends beyond the entity, right? So this kind of works at every scale. Like I see this on my own stuff. I've spent a bunch of time on LinkedIn, building all that up, doing these fucking podcasts, all this other stuff. And
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Always happy to do these. When I do post stuff on my blog, like actually, this is really funny. So on the one site I've talked about publicly that got hit by the helpful content update was my HR site, hradvice.com. It's still obliterated. You can check it if you want. It's just fucking newt. I had a management principles post. That was the topic. That was the SEO target. I wrote it all by hand. It was a good fucking post. It's how I run teams. If you want like a quick 3,000 word guide on how to be a manager and you have no idea what you're doing, you could certainly do wrong by like reading other, but like this is a good starting point. And I stand behind that post. That post was on HR advice for like a year, never went anywhere. Google wouldn't even index it, wouldn't check it, none of that shit. I took that post, I published it on largelofkin.com. And last I checked, I was like bottom of the first page for management principles. I was like, what the fuck? So the weird part here is if you think about my brand and my website and the authority, like the topical authority of largelofkin.com, it's all like marketing and some SEO and A/B testing, conversions. It's like that space. I like don't have anything related to management at all. And now Google's like actually giving me a real shot. What the fuck? And my domain rating is not that strong either. But my theory is I think it's all that entity building I've done on LinkedIn and all the podcasts and all the mentions around my name and my site, everything I've done, it's given me like the gap between that work and the actual SEO on my blog. There's such a differential in it that if I do like anything on my blog, Google's like, oh, yeah, this must be great, right? They give me the huge benefit of the doubt. And I think this also operates at like massive scale. If you're a huge brand and you've never really done SEO, you can like do no wrong. That will shift if you get greedy. You push anything too far. And I think NerdWallet is going through this right now. I heard some birdies say that they got a little aggressive on programmatic content and they did way too much. And I also think they fucked up their folder structure and did a bunch of like architecture changes. And I don't know quite what they did, but you can see the changes. And I think they fucked it all up. But anyway, their site's just like plummeting, right? So like even a big brand, regardless of how much big your entity is, you can always push it too far. And if Google starts to see that, it'll reverse the tide. You'll go from, oh, everything works to holy shit, nothing works. And I have a client like this brand. Everyone on this podcast would know who they are if I said the name. I know most of the listeners would too. So it's well known. It's been around forever. Big domain. Got pushed things too far on the SEO front. And now we're going to have to pull all that back. And during that fix, like nothing works. Even basic shit that should work doesn't work. So it's all about like keeping those things in balance. You know, how built up is the entity? And then, yeah, let's do some SEO. But let's not extend the SEO past what our entity can support. And let's be careful.
David, I really want your take on this.
In other words, do you exist just to take traffic and money from Google? Like how much of a percentage you match, that's how exposed you are to HCU, like in a way.
Yeah.
David, could you, what do you think too about, Lars, you gave this example. You had this page, this great page that you wrote on management, and it's crawled, not indexed, and you can't get it to index. And then you take it and you put it on your site, which has no topical authority for it. And now you're at the bottom of page one. And David, I'm curious your thoughts on this.
I mean, I do this all the time. This happens all the time, right? Firstly, I rank for like, what is Google? I have done for years, and I did so with a page that was a one-liner, right? And I found myself outranking Bing for Bing Search Console, because I know it's Bing Webmaster Tools, but Bing Search Console actually has 7,000 searches per month. And it was a blog post that I posted one night, and I was like, oh, I'll come back and finish it tomorrow. And I never came back and finished it. And it was just this blank page outranking Bing. So I've known that for years, right? That the page could be absolutely brilliant and not rank on one domain and rank on another. And when I had writers that got just a little too arrogant, and they would say like, oh, Google loves my content, I would sometimes switch their web ticket
the domain.
And replace the,
You see those freelancers
it's
on
the
LinkedIn
domain.
all the time. They're like publishing for some big newspaper and like, oh yeah, here's my process. It's so easy. You go straight to the top. Well, you don't have any idea what's going on.
I would replace their content with the brief, which would just be bullet points, and the web team would just stick up the bullet points. And then I'd say like, oh, bring up your piece and let's share it with the team. Tell them what you did. And then they would just realize, okay, 5 bullet points got ranked immediately. It's the topical authority of the domain, right? And so that's why I also don't trust Google when they say that this HCU is no longer a site-wide classifier. It's a page classifier. It's clearly a site-wide classifier.
Bullshit. Because bullshit. Yeah. Oh,
both
yeah.
both Black Hat World and Charles Float have said that the double redirect, and I'm not, I think it's even just one redirect could even work. That if you basically purge some of the content, republish content on a new domain, or if you take a domain, if you buy domain, say a business that went extinct, and put the content there, it ranks fine.
The
And I
expired
think
domain shit is so popular right now. It's insane. That's what like all the black hats are just fucking going rampant on drop domains, expired domains, fucking domains with old Google business profiles. It is rampant. It's so fucking nuts. I thought we solved this a decade ago. Anyway,
I think Google is loath to change its overall model, right? If you look at it, the Google search organic search team is a very small component of a very big Google organization, right? Like their ads team is massive. If you look at the Google graveyard, where they've bought and killed millions and millions of ideas. If you look at Google's AI cloud businesses, the search team's very, very small, right? Like there's very, very little manual interference with the algorithm. The algorithm's very protected. I've been in their headquarters in New York City. It's like going into the Pentagon. There's like closed areas you can't walk down. There's like, it's colored in different lanes saying like, you are not going down this path, right? Just forget about it. And they don't like a lot of interference. And it's amazing how much PageRank, even though it's now PageRank near a seed, which I suspect is how they work out if your brand equity is good or not. In other words, if you've got 10 direct links from CNN.com or NYTimes.com, you're probably surviving HCU, right? And even though it's a different model of calculation and its topical authority is an array instead of a single stacked number, it's the same damn thing than it was in 1995. It hasn't changed that much. I think it's the SEO community at large that keeps changing SEO. If you look at how much has entered the lexicon, like it's about site speed, it's about schema, it's not really, right? It's about authority, it's about third-party validation, always has been. How it's measured, the exact increments, where the multiplication lies, that's all a black box. We don't know how that works. And so I think that's how Google works. It makes tweaks to that algorithm or algorithms that sit on top of it. And that's why at the end of the day, Google only has to look visibly good to be good enough, right? That's it. They're not a research tool. Nobody uses them as a primary. Nobody Googles and goes like, okay, that's a fact, unless you're a large country and use it to go to war with, right? But apart from that, nobody, they're not a research academic institution, right?
I just wanted to ask like both of you, like, what do you think about like to what level Google is actually trying to understand what's there on the page, like just the on-page content? Is it just like they are stripping the content and trying to identify the term, maybe some closeness, and just that's the way they try to identify, oh, we should rank this page for this query? Or especially Lars, I love your Forbes post that you wrote some time back, and I
yeah.
even wanted to ask you like to what level there is like exact effort from Google to understand like what is the meaning of the content that's there on the page, or is it just like simple strip the content, pick up the relevant terms, try to identify like if they are related, and based upon that just rank those for that page for the queries? Or is there an actual effort to understand like if this content actually makes sense, or is it just like some random terms on the page?
Yeah, I think and David, I'd love your take on this too. I think there's multiple ways to like answer this question. I do believe Google does the absolute bare minimum to assess content quality, right? So if we're like, oh, this post is better than that post, I think Google's in everything I work on and see myself, Google's never been sloppier at discerning content quality in the last couple of years than they have in like the 10 years prior. Okay. And there's less correlation. Like on everything that I do, there's less correlation to putting effort into content quality than ranking than I've ever seen, right? I've actually pulled way back on content quality than I have in the past. Now I do think Google does a fair amount of trying to like figure out what's on a page. Like from that LLM algorithmic sense. This is another one of my gripes on Google. I can see why they're trying to do it, but again, it's like the execution is always off. There's usually like, if I was to summarize like my entire perception of Google, it's like they're trying to do the right thing, but then they're just like fucking just missing the boat. Just like the intent is good, but the execution is just not there. And I think this is another example of like one of the bigger shifts in the algo in the last couple of years is Google puts an enormous amount of, there's been a movement away from like strict literal keywords into like semantic meaning for years and years and years. It's not singular versus plural. That was dead like a long, long time ago. And Google's had a steady trend of just like pushing down that rat hole as far as they can. And now, like if you go search for a topic, if you looked at like keyword and topical hierarchy, even like 4 years ago, you'd get the primary topic, then what is X, X examples, X tactics, X tips, like they'd all be different. And you could build an entire site targeting that entire fucking tree, right? And every one of those keywords would be different, unique page, unique topic. Now, so much of that shit gets blended. So Google is doing a lot of work to say, oh, this thing is it's an examples post, but it is actually just talking about that core, head term, whatever it is. And if you Google like any topic, you get a huge mix. You get a how to, you get the what is, you get the examples, so Google's doing a lot to like blend that stuff. And I kind of see the point. So once, because, I think Google's trying to make search easier. So you don't have to like, I don't need, I can just search for the head term and not look for what is to get the simple definition, or I don't have to know that I have to add examples to get a list of examples. I can just search for the thing and get like a mashup all on that first page, the SERP. So the intent is there, and Google does put a lot of effort of trying to relate all these things and see what's equivalent and what to merge and what not. The execution is usually, again, kind of shitty in my opinion, and leaves a lot to be desired. So from like an algorithmic sense, Google's doing a lot to figure out what's on the page, but that doesn't mean they're actually figuring out what quality is, right? That's why I'm saying there's different ways to answer that question.
One of my favorite
Also,
quotes is from
yeah.
one of my favorite quotes from Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says that Google is a confirmation bias engine, right? So, for example, if I want to argue for young Earth creationism, right? I can go to Google and say, according to young Earth creationism, how old is the Bible? And Google will come back. Sorry, how old is the Earth? It'll come back and say it's 6,500 years old, and that's because that's what I've asked it, right? Google isn't, they're not into physics, they're not into archaeology, and so I'll start with like the simple origins of Google, right? So Larry and Sergey came up with PageRank based on a model that was used to rank medical papers, right? And what they did is they looked at the people that voted for it and their standing in the community versus the people who voted against it and their standing in the community, like PageRank, essentially, right? And if you look at if you understand critical thinking and how we as humans are much more subjective than objective. We tend to make subjective decisions and then use logic to back it up, right? Whenever someone says I'm data driven, I'm like, you're so full of bullshit. I know that. Now I know it, right? So one of the interesting things is there's an old Aristotle quote, and a lot of people use this quote out of place, but it begs the question, and people always say begs the question, and they use it totally out of context. It's very, very simple. The document that is used to make the claim cannot be the evidence to the claim. It's really, really simple law that is 2,100 years old. You cannot go. If you want to be subjective, you'll go against it. In other words, if you want to argue that you've found a book and it's given you life instructions and you build a religion out of it, right? You will argue that that is an objective reality and an objective truth. If you remain to be convinced, you're going to say, actually, that's highly objective and you need evidence to support the book. And that has been the way religious debate has happened in our sort of societies forever. So if you produce a document, there is no way for Google to ascertain if it's true or good or not, right? Like, I will never find a book about golf interesting. Unless it's like somebody tore down a golf course to build a parking lot. I don't drive, so I still won't find it interesting. That doesn't mean to say I should decide what's good or bad, right? And I think one of the most interesting pieces of evidence that's never ever quoted, and Richard Hearn, an Irish SEO who brought this up, shared it on X, and it was a slide from the HR onboarding slides that Google uses, and it was showcased as a piece of So Google was basically arguing in the DOJ antitrust case that they're the best at finding the best content. And the slide is really simple. It's two people sitting at a desk and it says, we don't understand content. We just pretend to. We measure people's responses, right? In other words, pogo sticking. And that's it. They cannot, like, let's say Ed and I go off and build a new podcasting app and we launch it and we come out with a new feature that no one's heard of. Is Google supposed to know if that's real or not? Can Google really say that's objectively better than someone else's? There is no way to build even with LLMs, right? Right after Aristotle's golden mean, the next important rule of critical thinking is that consensus is not evidence. We as mankind reach consensus peaks on things just before somebody goes to prove that that's wrong, right? So right up until Einstein, we thought that the universe was filled with ether, and then we learned that it was a vacuum. So consensus is not a good rule. So LLMs, which are consensus engines, aren't actually a good way to determine quality content unless you objectively measure a group's subjective decision. And that's what PageRank does. And that's why I don't think it can ever be replaced.
Again, you were saying something before.
Yeah. Starting from like PageRank, Lars, I think, how do you think that if Google is not trying to exactly understand the overall content on the site, then is it just like surface level topical authority that they are doing? Just based upon like keywords or the terms that are mentioned on the pages and just clustering based upon that and saying that, oh, this site mentions business SEO marketing, so it must be something related to a SEO marketing business. And another site mentions some plumbing words and it must be their authority or their topical authority should be around those words rather than exactly like trying to understand like what's going on the pages. So is it just, is Google's understanding of a domain and their topical authority, is it just like surface level? And they just pretend to know what topics the site write?
Yeah, so my thoughts on topical authority have evolved a lot, and I think topical authority is really messy. I think it used to be fairly straightforward. I don't think it's straightforward anymore. And there was a period, maybe like last year, I was like, topical authority dead. Like Google doesn't even fucking look at this anymore. I've evolved beyond that. I'm like, okay, there is some topical authority now, but it's way messier. Like in the past, like you could view topical authority like fairly simply, like you said, like, oh, is this marketing? Is this business? You could basically look at topical authority kind of like a librarian. Like, is your shit in the section of the library that Google expects? Yes or no? And if it's yes, then cool. Then things are generally going to be okay. Now it's like way messier than that. And it's not nearly as simple as all. And I have sites all the time that, you know, we go after some basic terms that are squarely in the lane of the product, the service. We're not doing any SEO aggressive stuff. This like could not be closer to, I mean, like eat, right? This is what the company specializes in. This is like the whole fucking business. It's not some top of funnel reach or anything. This is what we should be able to at least rank for, at least get a shot, right? We should at least be evaluated. The keyword difficulty is so fucking low. The ranking content's trash. Like we shouldn't have any trouble with like Google actually giving us a shot. And then like Google doesn't even fucking look at it. Right. It was like, it'll crawl it, won't index it. It's like, it doesn't give a shit. That happens a lot. And I see this across there, especially it's toughest with like mid-level domains because you think you should be able to like get consideration in an area because again, you're looking at it with that like information tree. What area of the library am I in? Right? I'm not doing anything sketchy or reachy. We should get a shot here. And then Google just does not give a shit at all. And the opposite can also happen where the way I look and describe topical authority now, it's like topical authority does exist, but it's being managed by like a coked up toddler, right? There is logic. There is always a thread of logic on a given site and why things are ranking, but it's never what you expect, or often it's not what you expect. And the way I usually figure out what Google likes on a site is one, you got to publish a bunch of content. But then you go just look at all the ranking content and you're looking for trends. Right? Just top pages ranked for Google or by, top pages in Ahrefs or SEMrush or anything. Just scroll down the list. It's like, there's always like a little mess, but you can almost always find a thread of like, oh, Google really likes that type of content on this site. And a lot of the times you're like, how did you get, like, I see the line, the thread and how all this shit connects, but how the fuck does that site automatically get a freebie with this? Like I think I was looking at like a website builder and it wasn't a client of mine. But I was actually looking at all the rankings and all the authority for like all the web host content programs and all the websites. I had a client in that space and I was looking at everything, like how's everybody doing? And I went through every big name blog that had any authority. And there was one, I think it was a website builder, web host or something like that. It was pretty straightforward. You think like, oh, they should be able to rank for like website content, right? Like, no, they didn't rank for any of that. They had tons of content around like actual website builder, web host topics. They didn't rank for any of it. Instead, they ranked for a ton of like CSS styling terms, like specific things, and they ranked for a ton of that shit. Somehow they got going. Google started to trust that particular content from them, and then that was all their rankings, all of them. I have another client where it's a SaaS client, but for whatever reason, it ranks for any review term I want. Not like best of or versus or alternatives keywords, but like software review, product review. I post any review I want and immediately goes to the top. It's fucking stupid. And I'm like, this is a SaaS company. What the fuck? And even for review topics that are not in the category that the product is in, right? That's why I'm like, there's a coked up toddler running this. Like somehow the toddler decide, I like reviews from that website. And now Google just trusts that shit. Like you should not trust that shit at all. And then the reverse is also true on that site. I can publish stuff square in the actual, like this is related to the 3 fucking products they have. I think I should get a shot. And Google just doesn't care at all. So like topical authority, it's messier than it's ever been. It's wonkier than it's ever been. It does exist, but I never even try to predict what it's going to be on a site out of the gate. I'm like, we're going to have to figure it out and it's going to be weird and wonky. So.
When you see that the top ranking pages are pages outside of the topic that you want the site to be about, do you ever consider taking those pages down?
Yeah. If I had, well, usually teams won't do this when things are going well, because why would they? Things are going well. This usually becomes a consideration when the whole thing is going down in flames. That's usually when I get a call. They're like, and step one, and I have done this. So I had a site, it didn't get the full HCU hit, but it was like headed in that direction. And I think a lot of sites are going through this. They're getting that multi-year decline and just like nothing works. The whole domain is sluggish. This is now kind of like become my specialty a little bit. And there's often like you go through the blog, you go through the content, there's a bunch of top of funnel or random shit that should not be on the site. Right. Or maybe it was a programmatic play that got way too aggressive. Regardless of the specifics, it's way too much content that got way too far afield. Again, like I was talking about, like how much SEO can the entity support? The SEO like drastically started to outstrip what the entity can support. Right. So I will go through, and on this one client that I had going through this, I got the bleeding to stop. And now I'm actually seeing gains on competitive terms I haven't seen in like a year and a half, stuff we haven't touched in a year and a half. Like we rewrote it all, but Google didn't give a shit forever. And the only thing that has started to turn that tide is I went through, of course, everybody does the easy content prune, like, oh, no traffic, no links, let's 404. That's easy. That's basic shit. It takes some fucking balls to go in and say like, oh, there's all this traffic that's ranking, and I'm going to make all the reports look like dog shit for a year, to the point where like, I'm surprised this client doesn't fire me, because I'm literally going to throw traffic off a cliff. And I've actually had this happen where like the top visited, or like top 3 page on the entire site actually becomes the 404 page, right? Cause I just nuke everything. Right. And depending on how links get built, can get really messy because you don't want to trash the links, right? But even with pages, there's a lot of pages that generate tons of traffic, 0 links. That happens all the fucking time these days, more often than it did in the past. So I'll go through and like, this content does not make sense. Let's kill all of it. And that is where I've seen the biggest gains in the shortest amount of time for a site that's struggling. Like, again, I don't know any of the specifics on NerdWallet, but they're like plummeting, right? They're having a rough couple of years. Their core stuff looks fine. They're still probably making a ton of fucking money, but their traffic charts look like dog shit, or at least their ranking charts and Ahrefs. And I assume SEMrush is the same. Like if I was working on that program or any site of similar scale, and I've worked on sites just as big, like step one is let's purge the fuck out of everything. And if it is not core to the site, we are junking it. And that is the only path that I've seen, other than like the double redirect, which I don't think NerdWallet is going to do a double redirect. But like if you're trying to save a domain, that's like step one, right? And I always start there.
When you do this, how long do you wait to see changes? How long does it typically take to see changes when you strip the content that is irrelevant to the topic of the site?
If you have the balls to do it, yeah, go ahead, Gagan.
Yeah. Just to add to the question, like I have worked on like some projects where I went like, oh, we just need to remove these 500 pages, and then others pages collapsed too, which were like driving conversions.
You're nuking the whole category. It's all going to collapse on you.
I just wanted to ask you, like, how do you decide? Like, because I feel like from the internal links, there is some value flowing from those like non-relevant pages to the other relevant pages, which are actually like driving the conversion. So how do you decide like, oh, these pages are not related, but they have some contextual internal links in the main text to other pages which are actually performing. So there is some risk of like nuking these pages.
No, there absolutely is.
Yeah. So how do you like deal with that? Like, how do you approach that?
I don't have simple rules because this can get really, really fucking messy and really, really hard. And on like the real answer can often come from basically your leadership or the CEO, the founders. Like, what are we actually doing with this website? Where the fuck are we actually going with this thing? Some cases it's straightforward. Like, oh, you got a SaaS website that, extended too far. It's like, well, what category is the product in, right? You sometimes it is somewhat easy, and then you build from there. In other cases, like if you have like a media site, it can be fucking heinous. You're like, well, what category are we in? We're in fucking 7 different categories. Where are we actually going to focus in the future? And do we have enough time to rebuild it before ChatGPT and Gemini steal all the traffic? Like, I don't know. We might just run out of time. So there's like it's way more intense than that. I don't have simple answers. Sometimes it is obvious. I mean, actually the part that I've struggled the most, I don't necessarily worry. Internal linking is important, but when I'm 404 and stuff, I'm like, I'm not that worried about it. What I worry about most and what I've had the hardest time dealing with on these sites, especially older sites that were built during a previous era where you just blog, and you just pick up all these insane links, right? Anybody remember that era? You just it's like the golden age of Neil Patel, right? Look, I worked for Neil Patel. I worked at Kissmetrics. I ran marketing there for a little while. Like I remember that area very fondly. It was great. You just fucking blog and everything works.
You were its first employee, right?
No, not the first employee. I was like employee 11, 14.
So crazy.
Maybe. Yeah,
so
I was
crazy,
one of the, I think it was the second marketer. I think it was Neil Patel, Sean Work, who was running the blog at the time, and then me. That was the marketing team for a bit.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Neil bounced, he moved on to other stuff, and I had a boss. That boss he moved on, and then I became the head of marketing as like out of default, and they just needed a body. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll do it. I had no idea what I was fucking doing. Anyway, so, but yeah, blogs from that era. And there's a lot of SEOs that have built companies during that era, right? That link profile, which is pure gold, but it's also messy as fuck. That was an area where you could just write about anything you wanted, right? And, it's like everybody remember the old Quick Sprout post where Neil Patel was just blogging about how he's investing in his own like closet and his own like dress. The fucking
we talked
suits.
about that at an earlier episode.
Oh,
you took that down.
Blog.
You took that down.
I did take that down. Yeah. That's another story. Anyway, that didn't have any links, despite the fact it's a funny post.
Oh, that went viral. That went super viral. Really?
Yeah, for you. I didn't.
For me.
Maybe for Neil at the time. But like 10 years, 15 years later, it's just sitting there fucking weighing the blog down.
Right.
Anyway, like you have this insane link profile and it's to all this random content, and you're like, that is not my space. But there's absolute, like, if I went and built those links today, it would cost me tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in time and money. Like, what? I can't lose those links. They're too fucking good. So what do? I just redirect them to the blog homepage. That seems like a waste, right? But there isn't a good one-to-one match. We're outside the cat. I don't want this post. So what do? Right? There's no good answers. Some cases you're like, fuck it. The links are good enough. We'll rewrite the post, even though it's not a perfect fit. In other cases, it's like, well, there's just a few shit links or like borderline links. We'll redirect it and move on. So you got to untangle that giant fucking mess. And I think a lot of the like golden age blogs of brands we all know and dominated for years and years, they're going through some version of that, right? They can't do the quick prune because you hit the link profile too hard, and you can't build this like magical tight website out of the gate, right? Because you have all this old shit that's a giant web of a mess, and you have to like slowly untangle it and build for the future, which takes years. So when you're in that situation, it's like, how long does it take? If you have a big site, a big brand, things are sluggish, site's in decline, bad direction, but it's things are big, right? Here's what I tell people generally. First year to stop the bleeding. Second year is going to be flat to get us back to growth. Year 3 is when we're going to actually start to feel the improvement. And that is a big ask for a lot of teams for obvious reasons. But that's not just SEO programs. I've done company turnarounds, department turnarounds, and that's generally the rhythm. The first year sucks and you're just trying to stop the bleeding. You stabilize everything but nothing's really moving. So it's like super disheartening in year 2. And year 3 is like, yeah, of course. Why didn't we do this 5 years ago? I'm like, because it was fucking hard. That's why nobody did it before.
Do you ever consider rewriting the pages to be more relevant to the topic and then putting in a lot of internal links to key topical pages?
Yeah. Like if the page is good enough, I can't tell you how many fucking posts I've rewritten, even if there's like borderline of like, no, the links are good. The topic's good. It's a bit of a stretch for that domain. But the content's trash because it's 20 years old. Like, yeah, let's go rewrite it. Like you do a lot of that. The rewrites, like you have
no, but I mean if the page is actually outside of the topic and you rewrite it to make it more relevant to your topic.
That I think my personal approach to SEO, that you're pretty limited on, right? Like when I think about search intent, I'm always topic first. Like whatever the topic is, I don't get to decide the spin on that topic. Google searchers get to decide the spin on that topic. So how are we writing the topic? Well, we're going to go Google it and we're going to see what the fuck is ranking. Although these days it's like really dumb. It's just a giant Wikipedia. Every blog post is like, what is, and then like 3 other bullshit sections. So it's like the creativity isn't what it used to be, in my opinion, in the SERPs. Like you don't have as much latitude to like play. You kind of have to just give the expected bullshit and then add a little bit of information gain and then call it a day. There's like less latitude in what you can do with topics on like a post by post basis than I think I've ever had in my career. So you kind of have to just serve Google what they fucking want and what searchers expect too. I think it's a double-edged sword. Google's playing into like a very rigid expectation. And then users are kind of either training themselves and also learning from Google that like, you're only going to get the surface overview, right? You're only going to get the Wikipedia. You're only going to get the AIO. So you just check Google for the definition and the very fast overview. And then you fucking move on. You go somewhere else for your actual research. In the past, you could do like deep research in Google, right? Can't really do that anymore. So yeah, if you're like, oh, let's take this topic and then like twist it into our space, what I would expect is that post goes nowhere because it's not what searchers want. And Google also goes through it and they're like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. This isn't anywhere close to what we'd expect. And it gets crawled. It might get indexed, but you'll be stuck at like rank 80, if that, right?
Yeah.
David,
and also like,
sorry.
Yeah. Regarding like purging like non-relevant content, I want to last like whatever project I work with, like I see like if we nuke like 700 pages, the next day or within the next week, Google starts to like crawl way faster. Like crawls that report.
If
goes
you
like
can
this.
cut it, if you can do a big cut, you can see things start to shift in weeks. Not in like big spikes, but the Google behavior starts to change pretty fast.
Yeah.
If you can really cut.
Is that like, for example, like one of the site I worked with, Google was doing almost like 6K fetches a day, and it went to like 30K fetches a day. And I was like, what's going on? Do you think is it Google trying to find out like all the 404 pages that happened on the site suddenly, or is Google trying to do like a complete site assessment? Like Google is like, something changed, we need to crawl the whole site and see like what changed, and we need to do like a reassessment of the overall quality of the website or the authority of the website. Like what happens there? I just wanted to like get your opinion on that.
David, you're shaking your head. It sounds like you guys.
So I've studied crawling for so long, and Gary Isles is great to listen to. And when you look at like Google bots are optimized for one thing, find everything, right? So crawling and indexing aren't related, right? Except on the other side of the equation, if you've got a page that's got lots and lots of links, it will get crawled more often if those pages are in turn getting called traffic. So back in Caffeine, like when Google was a simple monolithic service system, Google bots kind of crawled everything equally, and then they realized that wasn't going to work. And so they sort of triaged it, right? They had a very high level, your CNNs needed to be crawled frequently, and not the whole of CNN, right? It's not like Google expects content to change. It's more that the sitemaps are updated. So Google published specific crawlers that would only crawl sitemaps and then take the newfound URLs and put them into priority queues. And that's how they started to triage it. So they could do 1 hour, refresh the top of the web, 1 day, refresh the most important part of the web. In other words, who's reading it, how often is it accessed, and then over a month, depending on how shitty your DA is after that, right? So I think from the initial like how spiders evolved story fairy tale, like Google is a page level system. In other words, if you go to Search Console and you look at how often your pages are crawled and how often your pages are indexed, and then you look at how many pages actually get traffic. So I don't work on sites with like 1 million pages. I work mostly on sites with like a couple of hundred because it's like B2B. You'll see that like in a badly optimized site, in the top 10 pages, the top page is getting like 20 to 50% of the traffic, and then it goes down. But 80% of traffic is going to like either 8 to 20% of the pages. Those pages are also indexed more often or crawled the most, right? And it's a simple relationship. You can't really optimize crawling, right? Unless you have like 1 million or 10 million pages, because you're not really able, there's no restriction on your site. The restriction is only placed at that size, right? So, and you can't even throttle it anymore. So thinking that like by pruning back your pages, you're going to get more time on the other pages, I think is broken, because you're actually shared with all of the other pages, right? I don't think that there is even a way for Google to say, crawl the whole site because we want to assess it. That is problematic from just the top-down architecture of the different, I think there's 18 crawler roles, if that makes sense. They're all the exact same crawler. And so while it sounds like, well, if I cut back from like 1,700 pages to 200, those tops should get crawled more. But I guarantee you, if they're not getting clicks, they're just not going to get crawled. And then the second part with indexing to crawling is it will also look at the date timestamp and the size change. If you shift your CMS, right? So for example, if you move from WordPress to Wix, your HTML CRC is going to change so dramatically that it will look like it's doing a top to bottom crawl. Similarly, if you change a bunch of widgets or the way the HTML is produced, or you change the theme on WordPress, you'll get a top to bottom crawl, and that will have other outcomes. Like it'll recalculate PageRank, it will reassess pages that haven't been indexed while your PageRank and Topical authority have changed, and so that will actually change out your whole site. But I don't think that Google ever does a top to bottom crawl, because it just doesn't fit the nature of how the crawler system is designed. Like it's actually designed to be unoptimized. Like I don't think Google's trying to save money on disk space and indexing. I think they're trying to say, look, we have indices with 100, 200 million documents. You just don't have enough authority. You're never going to rank. Why should we bother including you, right? That's the only thing I see.
So David, what do
I
you
think,
think about
oh,
shaping topical authority by cutting pages?
I think so I'm not a huge fan of pruning. I think you can always convert pruning. I have definitely, and again, I have a different point of observation, right? I have seen sites where a company was sending like technical reports out of the UK, but they'd acquired a content agency who were ranking for the wrong thing. So they had one blog post getting 1 million visits and almost no traffic to their other pages. And they couldn't figure out why they went from 10,000 visits to 1 million visits and their sales just flatlined. And it's like because they brought the wrong user. I don't know that I would have pruned the content. However, if you've got content that's indexed and you unpublish it, you're going to change the nature of your topical authority. How much you're going to change it, I don't know. If you start removing pages with clicks, you're absolutely going to have detrimental impact on it. Again, it depends which pages and how much they're contributing, or whether you have pages that have enough traffic that if you remove these pages, it doesn't affect it, right? So I haven't ever got to that situation where I've had to prune 700 pages. I would probably, and I understand what Lars is saying. There are definitely instances where you're saying, look, this page is talking about Christmas trees and we're a plumbing company. I can't fit this into our thing. But I would still try to change the arefs of the links inbound. But I think John Mueller has said as well that he doesn't think that pruning necessarily results in a better crawling outcome, but pruning pages can definitely change your topical authority makeup. That's
be clear. I only do this shit when there's a clear problem on the site, right?
Absolutely.
Like if things are like working, if the site's healthy, if Google's treating it normally, even if there's some stuff that's like a step or two too far, like I'm not going to double down on it. But I'm like, I don't want to touch it. Like I might fuck up everything else that's happening on the site. And there's a lot of good things that are happening. The drastic stuff is when it's like, wait, Google does not trust this domain anymore. Like things are not working and we need to do something intense to flip that switch. And if we don't, like this might go to zero, right? That's when you get into, and like, even for my own clients, I'll do this. I mean, now I get way more aggressive because I've seen like how much work it actually takes to fucking start to flip it. But, on one of my clients, we did it a step at a time. Like, oh, let's do the obvious prune. Right. Because I mean, there's just too many pages. We need to rewrite everything. I don't want to rewrite this shit. Let's just get rid of it. There's no links. It doesn't matter for the site it's too far afield. Let's scrap it. Easy. That will save ourselves a ton of work. And you're like, oh, that didn't really change anything. Well, okay, let's do a deeper cut and a deeper cut, a deeper cut. I'm like, okay, things stable, but then another algo comes out. Things are getting shaky again. I've had this happen multiple times where I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just burn it to the, like, I'm out of options. I've done all the other shit. Let's actually go to the fucking ground. Right. And then I'm like, oh shit, things are working again. Right. So it's like, I didn't go all the way to the extreme. It's like, I ran out of options. I got cornered and I'm like, well, let's just go. Right.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think, for example, if I see sites where they've been talking about a lot of things like winning awards or case studies and nobody's reading it and Google isn't indexing it and isn't sending traffic, definitely that's prunable content. Or if it's content that like, oh, should we update this or it's out of date? I'm like, cut it.
Well, there was an era in Google. I did this a bunch of times. I forget who made this popular. Was it Brian Dean? I forget who made pruning popular, but there was an era where, and I did this multiple times on multiple major websites, where if you went and just pruned like 30% of the site, and if it hasn't been done for a while, you can usually cut 30% pretty fast, pretty easy. There's no links, there's no traffic, no one's looking at it, shit. Let's just 404 it, unpublish it, easy. It takes you like maybe a month to figure that out, even on like a pretty big site of what to cut and then just unpublish it all. There was a period where I would get a 30% pop on traffic, like within 30 days of doing that. You cut 30%, you go up 30%. And that became like a standard part of my playbook and everything we worked on. It was super consistent. So pruning was definitely real for a while. These days, I do not see that like basic prune to a consistent pop. I don't see that anymore. I still would do a prune just for the like internal management. Like I don't want to worry about this batch of shit posts. Let's get rid of it so I don't have to think about it anymore. But I no longer expect a traffic pop. To get traffic trajectories to change, like you have to get into 70, 90% of the site. Otherwise it's not going to. So you only do that when things are like a real fucking problem. It's like, if things are working, why would you cut 70% of the site? Like, you just don't need to, right? So
It's a system, right? If this, then that, right? I think one of the worst parts about SEO, especially for newbies, they keep insisting on like top 10 checklists.
yeah,
I saw someone on X going, "Hey, here's my top 10 list. I got GSC and analytics hooked up." I'm like, it's not SEO, right? And I think it's a system. You have to treat it as a system. And if your friend is running Microsoft's website, not a person to take SEO advice from,
Yeah.
because you don't have the same advantage,
yeah,
right?
the sites I work on are not what most sites, most people work on. Like, I've worked on multiple top 100 domains. It's fucking insane, right? Like, a lot of other like, I consider a domain rating or domain authority of like 70 to be low, right? I'm like, oh man, I got to work on this. And everyone's like, that's so high. I'm like, no. I'm like, if someone tells me the domain rating is like 50, I'm like, so you just started, right? Like, it was basically rounds to zero. Like, we got to do everything. Right. So it is a different scale, and the problems I work on tend to be like kind of insane. So
I love starting at zero.
it's way better. I actually have a client
Yeah.
like that right now. We're actually starting to build. I'm like, wait, you didn't do anything? This is amazing. I can build it right. I don't have to spend 2 years on fucking everything. This is fantastic. Let's go. Right. That's fun. That's great.
I like that. I had that debate recently. Someone's like, do you start with like cutting bloat or just being aggressive? I'm like, if there's a lot of bloat, I'm gonna cut the bloat. Like, it makes things so much easier when you have a clean
Yeah,
slate.
just operationally, like, you don't have to track. Like, managing a blog with 300 posts is a different ball game than 3,000. I'd much manage the three. Like, you can hit everything way faster. You get to obsess about content. With like a couple thousand, stuff just gets lost. You don't even know what's there. You're like, I can't even get my head around it. Right? It takes years to fully understand the site. So yeah, if I can just delete huge swaths of the site just to make like our operations, priorities, day-to-day easier, I'll take that all day long. I don't even need the traffic boost. The clients want the traffic boost. That's what fucking your boss wants to keeps you employed. But like, I'll do it anyway, even if it doesn't make any of the metrics look good.
David, do you think cutting bloat can, like, if you're putting up content that should rank, like this, we're doing everything right, this should rank. Do you think, and it's not ranking, do you think cutting bloat could actually make it rank?
Again, if the content is like sort of pushed you so far off where you want to rank, like if you want to rank for cloud networking and your content is all over in cybersecurity news, I could see a case for it. If you literally can't publish something that's in your topical lane.
But you know what? Sorry to interrupt you. We had this
Mm.
conversation, you and I, we had this conversation a few weeks ago on the podcast about site-wide quality. So maybe you have a lot of content where people are pogo sticking, and you look at that and you analyze that and you cut all the garbage.
I mean, yeah, if I saw that, that would be something new. But if I saw that, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Like I said, if you can't publish something, in other words, if you're writing about something that you do and Google won't index it, then you have a serious problem, right? And then, like Lars, that's probably where Lars said he ends up in a point where there's nothing else to do. He's tried everything else. Then maybe that makes sense. Just essentially bring the domain back to scratch, reset the click-through rate, and build up, right? So if you've got traffic or you've got pages and you're starting to lose, and you then can't publish something that's written by your PMM that is the most authoritative on your product, and Google won't index it, then you have a fundamental problem. And so the normal rules of SEO aren't at play here. That would definitely. And so I was sort of then in the same circle of things, right? Talking about site-wide qualifiers. Back to Lars, if you were giving advice to a HCU site, you can't publish anything new. How do you correct that with pruning? What's your advice? Because I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will have that question.
Yeah, figure out a way to get to 90%. Like, go
90.
cut 90%. Like, if you have a true, well, like, there's multiple levels, right? So if you have a true HCU hit, like, you have that 90% drop, it's like stark. You can just look at the graph. It's like fucking falls off a cliff, that like classic HCU traffic chart. Yeah, get to 90% like immediately. Go just kill a huge chunk of the site. I mean, honestly, with that type of level, most of the sites I work on are not that level. because you just leave them for dead, right? Everybody just move on. You just go do something else. Like if I had a site that got hit that hard and I was like, you can't work on anything else, you can't walk away, you have to resurrect the domain, I'd do two things. One, go literally delete 90%, redirect, rewrite if you have to, but like you need to materially revamp 90% of the site or junk it something, and you need to do it like immediately. The other thing is you stop worrying about SEO, right? You do that that huge purge, get through it, then go spend all of your time on socials, like building up that brand. If it's going to be a pure media reviews affiliate site or something, go start a YouTube channel, go start TikTok, go put all your real energy somewhere else. Like I said, you got to get that entity like trust way the fuck up, right? There's a huge mismatch. So go like cut the bleeding and then go spend your time elsewhere. Where it gets more challenging is if you're like, there's a lot of these sites where it's not like that full HCU hit, but they're starting to go down that HCU like gradient, right? Where things are sluggish. Google doesn't trust it. It's not dead. There's tons of stuff that still ranks, still a real brand. There's stuff searching, but Google's like getting touchy around that domain. That's when you still got to get to like 70% as fast as you can. Ideally, you're getting into 90 pretty fast. But those are like, you can only move so fast, right? Because you have all that stuff you have to untangle. So that's more challenging, and you have stuff that you still want to keep and build off of. But I still use that 70 to 90% range as like a starting point. Get to 70% as fast as you can. We're probably not going to see material progress until we can say that we have completely rebuilt 90% of this website. And then also it's going to take a year, right? You're going to have to make all those changes, and then Google's going to sit on their ass and slowly, reevaluate the domain and then come around and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we might trust this a little bit now. So yeah, it's a major undertaking.
How about
If
like
you're moving to another domain?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
No, I was going to say, if you were moving to another domain, would you still cut 90%?
Maybe, yeah, probably. I would do a deep cut, because it got you in trouble the first time, right? So even if you do a double redirect and the domain is clean and everything starts working, you're like, there's still a ticking clock on it. It's still unless you somehow got your hands on a domain with this like tons of branded traffic, all these other social profiles, like you somehow merged the two, and now you have this like brand entity coverage on like the old stuff, and it can support all that content you had. But like that rarely happens. It's probably going to be new domain, no social profiles or anything. So I would probably cut a lot before going into the new stuff.
Yeah, regarding cutting large, like if a domain is like just normal, like never hit by update, business is doing all right, ranking all right, sometimes they just want to push like relevant top of the funnel content. They are just like, some relevant top of the funnel is working, we just need to go all in now. Like, where do you like define the limit for that? Like where the content is relevant to your product or service, but it's mostly top of the funnel or maybe middle of the funnel, and you want to go all in to, extract like maximum value out of Google. And I've seen cases where those domains also get hit. Like
yeah,
you
it gets hit.
Relevant.
Yeah. That's happening to a lot of folks, right? It's all the fucking, even these, like, there's so many SaaS companies doing this right now. They're getting sold on these like AI content mill tools, and they're just publishing thousands of posts, all the traffic charts, just like, it looks amazing. And they're like, oh yeah, we're so good at this. And then boom, they just get obliterated, right? And something I began to realize, I'm not going to call them out because they seem like good people. But it's a brand you all would know. Actually, I know that there's so many SaaS sites that are like this. Big brands.
Wait. I think me and Edward already know even before you mentioned it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I got multiple examples in my head right now, so I don't know. Fucking spin the wheel. But there's like, and I get this. I've led marketing teams. I've been on marketing teams. I've led departments. I get how these goals work and into the internal pressures. So I empathize, but like, you got to make the number go up. You got to make the number go up. You got to make the number go up. And there's always like a thread of logic on the top of funnel stuff, right? Like we could go beat up HubSpot or, that's not the example I was thinking of, but there's plenty more. There's like, we could go beat these people, like talk shit, but there's always a thread of logic. And actually what occurred to me, this applies to SaaS and I think it probably applies to other business models, but like a common trap that I've seen recently, and I've actually done this myself. So I'm in it. I'm just as bad as everybody else. But like there is like, if you're going for traffic, you start extending, and not just like crazy top level, like random definition, celebrity keywords or something, but like you get in a common trap that has some logic to it is you start to rationalize why everybody else's bottom of funnel is now your top of funnel, right? Like you're like, you know what? I need to expand my surface area. We need to publish more content. We need to get more rankings. Well, why don't we go rank for not even a competitor's pricing keyword? Let's just rank for a bunch of different, like I want Trello pricing. But I'm not in the project management space. But we're going to go write a blog post about Trello pricing. What the fuck? Right? Like this doesn't make any sense. Like someone else's bottom of funnel, I'm now rationalizing why it's my top of funnel. I know a SaaS team that they basically, again, I'm not going to name them because I don't want to talk shit, but I completely disagree with their frame of thought on this one. But they basically, the way they phrased it, was they were going after all these like, product listicles, all the best X, best Y, all those classic listicles that were now well known now. And they called all that's bottom of funnel stuff. Are we clear? Like that's not a crazy statement, right? These are bottom of funnel keywords. But this SaaS company was going after all these B2B terms, all of them. It had nothing to do with their product, nowhere near their category. And they're like, oh yeah, that's our top of funnel. I'm like, what the fuck? That's not a top of funnel. That's someone else's bottom of funnel. But again, you're rationalizing, oh yeah, when they're looking for those products, they might be interested in our solution a little bit. Like there's always a thread of logic, but you're like, no, that's not, like you're stretching too far. Yeah. So a lot of brands will do this and they just stretch. And there's lots of incentives to like keep pushing. I don't think there's like a hard rule across the board of like when's too far. It is, for me at least, it's gut feel. I guess that's the fortunate part of getting burned enough times. You're like, oh yeah, okay, let's not do that again. That I don't know where the line is, but we definitely crossed it somewhere along the way. And now, like if I was running like a massive site, head of marketing or something, or a founder or CEO or something, I would give myself lots of margin of error. I wouldn't get anywhere near the line, and not just because I'm a purist or like, oh yeah, Google's looking for the right stuff. If you do good content, it'll work out. Fuck no, that's not how any of this works. But no, I just don't want, like, I've spent too many pieces of my career, like trying to recover fucked up websites, or like, things tip on you and then it takes you 2-3 years of firefighting to turn it around. That sucks. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. So I'll give myself lots of margin of error. This is a nice benefit of spending enough time in the affiliate space. I know where all the money is. It's pretty obvious. Once you get into it, you're like, yeah, I know what's critical. I know what's fucking important. We're going to go really hard on that. And then we are going to leave other shit on the table. Like we're not going to try to get everything. We're going to get the core. We're going to get after it. We're going to win, but then we're also going to go overspend and invest in other areas and other channels, even if it's slower, even if there's not as much money. We're going to do the email list. We're going to do YouTube. We're going to do LinkedIn. We're going to do all that other stuff so that Google can't fuck us. Or if they do decide to fuck us, it's like not a big deal. Right. So, that's how I think about it now. I think if I was in the boardrooms of a lot of these teams, I'd probably tell them, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we need to, even if it's working, we need to pull way back. Nobody would listen to me because that's how this works. Like, you don't listen until you get burned. So I'd realize I'm just pissing into the wind and nothing's going to happen, but I'd still make the case, and then people are still going to do it, and the site will still collapse. And then I'm like, okay, you can pay my crazy retainer for me to fix it, and it'll take me 3 years. So yeah.
And even nowadays, I think like many people who come to me and say that, oh, this is working, can you help us to scale? And I'm like,
No.
thank God this is working for you now. If you scale,
Stop.
you will,
Go the other way. Stop scaling. Do less.
yeah. And then they are like, oh, we can pay you. I'm like, I'm happy to be paid, but I don't want you to be like crashed in like 6 months and lose everything, like whatever you're doing, especially with the two like well-known AI content generator SaaS tools which are out there. I don't know what they are doing, but whatever marketing they are doing or whatever outreach they are doing, but it's working. Like fucking such a big companies in Australia, they are like, we use their tool, it worked for a month, and now can help us to scale it 10 times. Like that means like publishing 5,000 AI generated pages, which of course is going to work for 4 months and going to bring in like your traffic, but after that you're just like,
what a lot of people don't realize, and I think it takes, like, you got to be in the space for a while, but like the results of your SEO program today are actually a function of what you were doing like 2 years ago, right? Like there's a huge lag on your SEO program. So if your site was in a good place, like roughly 12 to 24 months ago, and Google trusts you, you could get away with murder today and everything is going to look fantastic. But what you're setting yourself up is what you're doing today is going to determine what's your reality in 24 months, right? Which can be pretty janky. Like there's a lot of, you can get down these roads of doing horrible shit. And this has happened to me. I'm just as guilty of this as anyone. Building big websites, making a bunch of money, ranking for shit that I probably did not deserve. And I'm like, well, it's working. Let's do more of it. Like, and then you just go. And then you're like, oh shit, we probably should not have done any of that. So that happens, but there's this lagging indicator is like really dangerous with SEO, especially if you haven't been through it a bunch of times. And you always have to play ahead, which also could be aggravating because, it takes forever. It's slow, especially if you're building with like margin and you're not getting too aggressive. The other thing I'll say about like being aggressive and people going for it, like what a lot of people don't realize is like when it comes to like the black hat worlds and the ultra aggressive SEOs, their whole structure is built around having things potentially collapse, right? They have multiple properties. They're always working on different shit. If a property goes down, they don't give a fuck. They're right on to the next thing. Their whole org chart, all their investments, all their operations are built for this high risk. It's like hardcore day traders or, or quants in finance. Everything is built around speed and intensity and just that insanity. They live on it. They thrive on it. That's the whole point. But if you're some just like mom and pop investor and you're coming in and you're like, I'm going to day trade, you're going to get fucking murdered. Right. So you gotta be careful, like who you take advice from in the SEO world. Like some of them, they're okay if things tip over and get burned. They planned for that. Like they don't even like consciously plan for it. That's just who they are. And everything in their world is built around that. But if you're like some single media company with a big brand or some single SaaS or e-com and you just have your one thing, you gotta be fucking careful. You got to play completely differently. And you have to like leave plenty of margin and money on the table. Because if it does go down, you're hosed, right? You're not set up for that volatility and insanity.
Can we talk about who recovered, where we saw recoveries?
Yeah, did House Fresh recover and Retro Game? Was it Retro Dodo?
House Fresh is way up last I checked.
Yeah.
I think their YouTube channel is a like them plus the PR and all that entity building. I think that was a big part of it. So
no doubt. They went on a massive PR offensive,
and they should have. Hats off to them. It's
absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. I don't know of many others who've recovered. Whenever I ask about recoveries, I get mostly fake case studies of people said, "Oh yeah, I totally helped this company recover. We fixed their 404s." I'm like, "Sure, that was it."
No way, that was it.
Yeah, if someone's saying to you they can fix your HU recovery with an SEO audit, like, no, I would like, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
So better to just start a new site when you get hit by the HCU. Actually, are there any similar core update penalties that you've seen recently, last year or this year, where maybe it could be so bad that you don't even know if you would try to fix it and you would just start a new site?
I've definitely seen some cookie cutter pages get hit where you're very much targeting in a similar vein. Like if I see people trying to build a new topical authority array, and they start adopting tactics that are very similar. So like they'll say like, okay, we're in project management, we're going to jump over to CRM, and then they start building like a quick massive CRM. That content can fall down very quickly.
Yeah, I'm
so
very
again,
leery of like category expansion like that. It's way harder than it used to be. You don't go in with the full cluster anymore. You sort of
exactly.
you got to go real slow. It's super painful. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go from tile to tile, right? You
Yeah.
can't just like start expanding your
And you got to
empire.
build links along the way, and you got to you got to work across channels. It's
Yeah, definitely. So I think if people have had like a certain amount of success, and then you want to replicate that for a new business or a new market segment, don't try and save 2 years, right? Build it up naturally, right? Because those systems are baked in.
I want to end with this question, and if any of you have questions for each other before we go, feel free to ask them as well. But the last question that I want to ask is, we've spent so much of this podcast talking about like, oh, this sucks, this was the worst thing ever, but we're all still in SEO. And so I'd love for each of you to just say, why do you love SEO after all of this mess? Why do you still love search engine optimization?
I think just because I've been doing it so long and I still love it. I think it's amazing that you can take something like buy a domain for $14 and turn it into a company in a couple of years, just by watching and testing and reacting to how Google reacts. And I just think it's especially when you can see something that's predictable, reliable, repeatable. I think it's amazing. I just think it's easier than anything else. I can't. Sometimes I still like at the end of the day just walk away and go like, I can't believe people pay me to do that. I just love it so much, and it's just that simple.
How about you, Goggin, and then Lars next? Oh, Goggin, your audio's a bit messed up. I think you're coming in through your headphones because you changed them out. Lars, I'll let you go, and then Goggin, you could try to fix your audio.
Sure. Some days I ask myself, why the fuck am I still here?
No, oh, no.
What am I doing? No, so I mean, I have actually moved a good chunk of client work and my own personal time away from SEO. I still love SEO. Like I think personally, it's just a great fit. I think that's why a lot of SEOs, they have this weird mix of they like content, they like the web, they like helping people, but they also like data to like they get some version of that balance. And I'm the same way. And I would work if Google incentivized me, I'd work on websites all day, every day to make Google users happier. But I also have to acknowledge when I'm in an abusive relationship and Google is not looking out for me anymore. I think they used to, or at least like sort of did. Like there was a mutual win-win, like not that everything was 100% clean, never is. But now it's like the relationship is just like fucking upside down. In a lot of cases. So for clients, when it makes sense, like, yeah, I'll do SEO. Let's go hard. Let's have at it. Enjoy it. But for my personal stuff, like, I mean, I do like zero SEO shit on my personal stuff now. It's all social. Like if I was going to put more energy into everything I'm doing, I'd spend more time speaking. I'd go build a YouTube channel, even though it's also a Google toxic relationship. Let's see how long that's actually continues to work. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not spending my personal time on SEO like I used to. Right. So for me, the balance has shifted, even though I do personally enjoy it.
So how about this? Instead of like a niche top of funnel content site, you would still do SEO for a business that's selling things, and it would still
if it's
be
big
very
enough,
effective.
yeah. And I think the opportunity is there. Then it's
But
okay.
you even said earlier with a new site, it's like, great, this is going to be fun.
Because they had a real company behind it. Right. Like if I was, let's say I did some SaaS startup. I'm not going to do a SaaS startup. I've done SaaS. I like SaaS, but I'm not going to do a SaaS startup. Let's say I was doing some SaaS thing. Even today, if I was building from scratch, I'd get some other channel working first, right? Like the client that I'm talking to and about, going hard on SEO. One, I'm doing a multi-channel push for them, or that's what we're exploring. It's not, we have X amount of budget for SEO, but then I'm moving right on to everything else. In the past, if you had talked to me 10 years ago, and this is how we built Kissmetrics. Kissmetrics was like 100% fucking SEO. Everything ran through that goddamn blog. The entire lead funnel, the sales funnel, everything was 100% SEO. If we were talking 7 years ago and you're like, Lars, you're going to build some company, and I'll be like, you know what? I might just purely do SEO. Like SEO can take me from the garage to all the way to IPO, right? There's that much opportunity. I'm good at it. I love it. It can help on day one. It's slow, but it can help, and it'll take you as far as you want to go. That's how fucking HubSpot got built. NerdWall, it's like Points Guy, like there's so WP Beginner, there's so many massive domains that have made their founders stupid amounts of money. And I always believed in the power laws. That's why I built my affiliate business. This wasn't theory. I went and fucking did it too. If you really focus on one channel and you get to the top, you can reap all the rewards. Like the ROI at number 1, 2, and 3 dwarfs the ROI for everyone else, right? And so why not focus? Focus on a single channel, get to the top, all the rewards are yours. And SEO used to work in a way where it can literally take you from day one to as far as you want to go. That is very different, right? So one, I'm way more careful about going all into SEO. Even this one client where they haven't done anything, I'm like, great, we'll build it from scratch. But we're also talking about Reddit. We're talking about paid, we're talking about events, we're talking about affiliates, right? And then as soon as any of those channels are working, I'm not just going to double down on SEO endlessly, right? I'm going to start expanding into everything else. So it's way more of a distributed strategy now than it used to be. And even for my own stuff, I like focus. I would love to just work on larslofgren.com day in, day out, maybe that, my email list, just go. I'm like, no, I don't do that. Always add another channel. Like even if SEO is a big component of your strategy, you need another channel going, and there needs to be a primary focus from day one. Something top of funnel, something. Like even this client where we're building from scratch, their sales team are monsters. They're fucking getting after it. They're growing without any marketing. Like that's how they've got a brand growing. They've got an amazing offer. Like a lot of the stars are aligning. So it's like, okay, yeah, you're pretty far along the journey already. Now let's add SEO, right? So it seems like we're building from scratch, and we are building SEO from scratch, but the company brand and go to market is not being built from scratch. They're pretty far down that path already. Same thing with like massive brands and sites. I'm like, yeah, if you're a top 100 domain, can you do a lot of SEO stuff? Well, yeah, you fucking can. So let's go. But those are like exceptions, right? That's not if you're a startup on day one, that journey is now very different than some of those.
Again, you want to try?
I don't know why I like SEO. My mom and dad wanted me to be a doctor. Then I just went to uni for computer science, and I just stumbled upon SEO, and since then I've been doing it. I think I'm the least experienced person out of all those, all through 4 of us. So I love data and content. That's why even my small mini agency, we mostly do content. We start with content, we do technical, and we do link building too. But in my strategy, whatever I have been seeing that is working in, especially Australia, US market is totally different story. It's really, really competitive over there. But in Australia, you look at his site and you see, I think Lars will look at his site and within 2 hours, he can build a strategy that can drive hundreds of thousands of revenue from SEO. Crappy site, totally shit show. Nothing is clear. URLs are messed up, and you just fix some technical stuff. You put up content, you build some backlinks, and boom. It's not that competitive as US. So that's why I enjoy it. I'm not sure if I move to US or maybe start working with more US clients. I do work with some guys in San Francisco, but US is way more competitive, and I don't know I will survive there or not. But let's see. I actually enjoy here, and maybe over time I will move to UK or maybe US. So let's see.
Before we go, do you guys have any other questions for each other? Anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I had a quick question. Given how susceptible people are with single domain strategies, do you think single domain strategies are like a weak point, like a weak link in the chain versus like a multi-domain strategy? Or what are your thoughts on that? Like for a single organization or a single person? Like I personally believe like organizations that have a single domain, like especially with the last 26 years of companies just having a branded domain, I think that's a weak strategy. I think if you're a publisher or if you're an affiliate marketer, a single domain strategy is kind of almost so risky, it's silly. What do you guys think
Lars,
about
what do you
that?
think?
I don't think there's a simple answer. Like if I had a real company where we were selling something, it's not just some media affiliate company. There's like a real thing. The last thing I'd want to do is go build another like brand and entity and everything else. I have actually, I tried to do this, and at the time I do think it was the right call, but it's not just like there's the SEO answer, right? Of like, oh yeah, we're going from project management into CRM. Should we maybe have a separate brand and a separate product and a separate domain to get into CRM? And like from an SEO perspective, you can make a strong case for that. But then there's also, especially for an established company, that's like the tip of the iceberg, right? You're like, how does this change the org chart? Who owns this? Where's the budget coming from? Who's going to champion this? Who's going to continue to make sure this gets solid investment at like month 18 when everybody's sick of it, nothing's really working, and everyone just wants to delete the fucker because we're all exhausted and we haven't quite gotten through the trough of despair, right? Those are like the real challenges. Like at an info product company, we had a personal finance website. I was the main champion to building like a business focused website. Like our info products had kind of extended from personal finance into like how to start a business stuff. And I was like, we need a business brand. We need a business website. We need to be able to rank for business stuff. Like we're going from finance to business. These are two separate verticals in Google. This isn't like, oh, we can stretch it. Like, nah, let's build a new thing. And I think like SEO, that was 100% the right call. After I was the main champion of that, it was going really well. I think we got a domain authority of like upper 60s or something from scratch, like within a year. Like we were building a whole new email list, had a YouTube channel that was starting to click and get subscribed. Like things were bubbling up. We had that kernel of momentum. And then I left the company for a variety of reasons. And I think a year later, the domain was dead. Okay. Right. That was internal, right? Like I was the champion. Wow. I left. The founder was like on board, but it wasn't like his thing. Right. So he was like, okay, like he wasn't protecting it anymore. And then the rest of the leadership came in. There was like too much spend, too complicated. Like whenever you add a new thing, like complexity it's not geometric, it's exponential, especially internally. Like you add more stuff and you're like, okay, now we got multiple hosts to worry about. We got multiple servers. We got multiple SOPs. We got multiple brands. Like in my affiliate company, we were managing 4 fucking websites. Like big, and we fucking like controlled the whole thing. These were like serious affiliate programs. And it was a lot. It was so fucking much. Just trying to wrangle things, let alone do things like really well, but just trying to keep the fucking wheels on the bus was fucking gnarly. It was way harder than it should have been. And if I'd gone back, I mean, it's kind of moot because it wouldn't have changed the outcome, but, if I'd gone back, I think we would have gotten further. Yes and no. It's because of fucking the affiliate space so much. So we had this like closing window. So we got fucked no matter what we did. But you could make a strong case for like, if you only did like, instead of 4, maybe just do like 1, maybe 2 at the max and get those really good before expanding. The problem is when you go from 1, you expand to 2, you get good at expansion. So then you're like, oh, we need more growth. let's expand. And you do 3 and 4. Like, it doesn't just stop at 2. Like, you just kind of keep going. And then before you know it, you got like half a dozen and you're all drowning. Like, the same thing happens with like e-com roll-up brands, right? They're like, oh yeah, we have a dog toy company. Let's go fucking do, I don't know, a soap company. And then you get good at kind of absorbing that second e-com brand, but then everybody's running around trying to like fucking just keep it controlled. And then when no one's really focused on building any of the core brands you actually have, and you're like, okay, how do we expand? And you get to 3, 4, 5, 6, but then there's lots of waste, lots of leakage. Nothing's really getting the attention it deserves. So it can be a trap. Not to say that there isn't a world to do it. And if you have the discipline, it can still, like, there's a time and place, right? But I don't think it's as simple, just, always have multi-domains, always have multi-brands. For me, the main way I want to diversify these days is multi-channel, right? Even if I'm making a bunch of money from Google, expect Google to fuck me and make sure I'm in a position where if that happens, it's no big deal, right? Because I'm in other channels, but it's all a cohesive brand that's all turning into a flywheel.
Here's the thing. Do you think if you're diversifying into different channels, you're going to get effed? Like if
not anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you're not doing the black hat stuff where you expect to get effed, and you're like kind of playing things by the book, and you are diversifying into other channels, so you have all of those different brand signals, then are you going to get hit?
I don't think so. No, it gives you more margin, gives you more coverage. Yeah. In the past, the power law came from like really focusing on a single channel. And now it's like the power laws are all like, if you get the mix going, like, Dan Martell or Alex Humazi or any of these like huge, massive people, they're doing Instagram, they're doing LinkedIn, they're doing TikTok, they're doing YouTube. It's like the power laws now come from getting that huge orbit together. In the previous era, you could just do SEO and have a massive website and reap all the rewards. And now it's like the focus is almost a serious liability.
No, but could you grow SEO seriously if you are also growing your other channels and taking those seriously? So you had different marketing teams.
Not necessarily even different team. Like, yeah, you need individual people. You might have different agencies. But the work, I do deeply believe that all the work I do on LinkedIn helps my blog rank. 100%. Like, I don't do any SEO on my blog. I don't do any link building. I don't do shit. And I'm always surprised at how fast I get crawled, how fast I rank, and like the level of my rankings. I'm like, this makes zero sense.
You just don't remember. You've got so much muscle memory. Like when you write a slug, it's just automatic SEO. Right?
Yeah, there is that too. But man, I put just as much energy on other domains. So I'm like, man, Google doesn't give a shit. Yeah, and like if I wanted to push my site even further, I'd do the roundabout to SEO. I'm like, okay, let's go get like a poppin' YouTube channel. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, even if I'm doing some sort of reviews, intense type of category, I want to go dominate a vertical or something. Let's say I'm doing fucking credit cards or something. I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I always want to be number one at best credit cards. That's where the real money is. I'm going to circle back to that. I'm like, I'm going to go dominate YouTube first. I'm going to do LinkedIn. I'm going to do all this other stuff, TikTok. And then when I come back and actually do all that SEO affiliate make money cluster, I'm 100% confident that all that work would be hundreds of times easier by coming back to it at the end than like starting from the beginning.
If you were starting a new brand, would you put up some SEO pages just so they start to rank as you build the brand in other places?
Yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, I'd only do it if I had like a good reason. Like the way I'm treating my own blog is I post when I have something that I think could go viral, something that's really fucking good. I'm having fun. And then any SEO is just gravy. Right. But I care about what's happening on my LinkedIn profile. And if I wasn't doing all the client work, and let's say I was doing full-time creator stuff, I'd be like, I care about what's happening on my YouTube channel way more than I care about any individual ranking. I just wouldn't give a shit. And I wouldn't try to like publish stuff really. I know that's like an old adage of SEOs. I don't think that really applies anymore. Like, get it up and let it age. If anything, it can actually like weigh things down now. So I would just skip it. And like, if I thought like the time and place was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go, I have a really good post around best credit cards in me right now. Let's just get it up. I'm not going to do the whole cluster. I'm just going to do one, but I'm not really doing it for the SEO. I'm going to do it for my list, my audience. We're going to have fun with it. Fuck the SEO tactics. There's going to be jokes. There's going to be unhinged content. Like, it's more about the audience. And yeah, I'll get the slug right, because I'm probably going to have to go rewrite this and actually turn it into an SEO post like 3 years from now when I actually give a shit. But for now, it's like, no, we're just having fun. And I'm not expecting Google to do anything with it. And I don't care how it ranks, right? Even if I might be setting up the URL for later.
David, do you have any last thoughts?
I think SEO, like, I totally understand where Lars coming from. I mean, I think if you have a name and a reputation, it's easier to start there, right? If you've got that LinkedIn is, established, it's the easiest place, right? And as humans, we'll always start at the easiest place. If you're a billionaire, you're going to start a company with $1 million investment. You're not going to bootstrap again, right? But I think SEO still is that massive channel. It's so big, and if anything, the other channels haven't really grown as much, right? I still think SEO is a fantastic channel that you can focus all of your time. Obviously, you can become jaded from it.
Me jaded, David? I think so. I'm a crusty, grumpy motherfucker that's just sick of this. You're not wrong.
Well, I mean, what I mean is, I think you can still like, I still do it all the time. I still, we build up companies, they get acquired, the team goes off and starts a new company, we start again from scratch, and I love it. There's nothing worse than when you're trying to drag a site that everyone's sick of, right? And you just can't get new traffic to it. There's nothing worse, right? But I still think there's a lot you can still start from scratch. But no doubt, once you have an established brand, it makes all the sense to keep investing in that, without a doubt.
I would agree with David. If I was building SEO exclusively and I wasn't allowed to dabble or work on any other channel at all, regardless of whether or not there was like an agency, e-com, affiliate media site, whatever the model is, I do agree that these days going at it with like 2 or 3 domains from the get-go has probably a stronger case for it than in the past, because of how volatile and erratic Google is these days. Like, you could have the exact same site, the exact same model, and get completely fucked on one, and then the other one just is fine. Everything, and then you're like, we did the same shit. Why is this one different? Like, who the fuck knows? I have no idea. Right. So that, I could get on board with that. If it was like 100% SEO, like, yeah, maybe have a couple irons in the fire, because things are crazy these days.
Gentlemen, this has been a ton of fun. This has been this is honestly one of my favorite episodes ever, and I think I hope listeners and viewers enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed myself. I think all of you guys enjoyed this. So thank you to Goggin. Thank you to Lars. Thank you to David. This is episode 989 of The Edward Show, 989 days in a row doing this podcast. I've had some amazing guests. Lily Ray was 2 days ago. David, you're gonna be back in a couple of days, and episode 1000 is just around the corner. So for everybody who watched this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you listened on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.